The more I watch this show, the deeper I feel I'm getting lost in a maze of idiocy.
No, Harry, you're not drinking it fast enough. You gotta drink faster. You gotta go back, go back, go back, go back, go back. You gotta drink it fast.
Or maybe it's a web, like Sheila would weave if she were in this second season for some reason. Oh, right, she is. Yes, I'm trapped in that labyrinth of webbing in a dank, dark cave, surrounded by writers who have somehow mastered the art of rushing through the most pivotal events of the Second Age at breakneck speed, while simultaneously dragging everything down and making the world, its events, and its characters feel lifeless and boring. Everything is trivialized. I mean, do you really think the best way to reveal the Balrog's existence would be for Disa to stumble upon it while chasing a meaningless bauble through a crack in the wall? Well, these writers did.
Too much?
Episode 5 opens with a shot of the Dwarven rings already forged and delivered to King Durin. It feels so anticlimactic. This is the forging of the Rings of Power, the foundation for the events and struggles that unfold in the Third Age, made so famous in Tolkien's novels and Peter Jackson's fantastic movies, the tales that have captured the imaginations of generations. And they're just done and sitting there. It would have been nice to at least see Sauron do something to influence the process, like creep around whispering incantations, or channel some magic into the mix from the shadows while everyone else was occupied. Anything, really. All we get is him concentrating for a bit in episode 3, and that's it. It's a visual storytelling moment I felt the show sorely missed. Anyway, King Durin puts on a ring and starts acting out of character immediately. Like, damn, we're moving along at a brisk pace, aren't we? I thought the dwarves were supposed to be more resistant to the ring's corruption. What is Amazon going to do for the next 3 seasons? Durin acts like a dwarf possessed and pounds through the mountain wall while his son and the shift supervisor look on. Good job, boys. The king is able to open up some sun shafts again, and the agricultural crisis is averted as quickly as it started. Durin makes a big deal about the dwarves being free from the tyranny of the sun, and Disa gives her friend a wary look, even though it was her idea in the first place for the dwarves to wear the rings.
Either you bring news of this to your father, or I will.
You pushed for this
I know.
from the beginning.
I know. I did. I know.
And she has no reason at this point to suspect that Durin is acting erratically that we've seen. It's almost like she's read the script or something. In celebration of the cooperation between the dwarves and elves, the doors of Durin are unveiled to much pomp and circumstance. But Sauron gets pouty and leaves, and like an attentive lover, Celebrimbor follows. I'm not sure what's being communicated here, but it gives off a weird vibe. The soft-spoken manner these two converse in, probing each other's feelings, it doesn't feel like how men act. And I don't mean men and not elves, I mean the males of species. Can you imagine Peter Jackson's Elrond talking like this? So unsure and unconfident?
The enemy is moving. Sauron's forces are massing in the east. His eye is fixed on Rivendell.
I encouraged you to keep it short. I do not recall you saying that.
Man, everyone's gay once in a while.
I guess the director's trying to show Celebrimbor's being manipulated, but it feels more like an abusive relationship than a partnership over blacksmithing. Essentially, Sauron wants to get to work on rings for men right away, but Celebrimbor doesn't want to give any to men because they're too easily corruptible. Sauron tries to change Celebrimbor's mind by saying they'll only give rings to the most noble and pure of heart, the 9 kings of the 9 greatest kingdoms, which are 2 more rings than the dwarves got because of the power of many, I guess. Celebrimbor says sorry, no, so Sauron says,
Fuck it. I'll do it myself.
Celebrimbor then writes to High King Gil-galad saying he's shut the forge down as requested, omitting the fact he already made 7 rings for the dwarves after being forbidden from doing so, and has the gall to call himself a loyal servant. Cut to Lindon, and Gil-galad has already received a letter from Elrond. Hold on. When is this taking place? Obviously after Galadriel and Elrond left for Eregion, but if this is supposed to be taking place linearly, like after the events we saw in episode 4, then how did Celebrimbor manage to send a letter from Eregion, which is farther away than Elrond and his squad was, which reached Lindon before Elrond did, after he turned back to warn Gil-galad about the Orcish army? Surely he would have had a head start on the messenger, wouldn't he? Oh, right. That's probably how. What am I doing obsessing over this anyway? There are so many other problems with this show. Let's keep going. Yeah, this is ridiculous. Elrond rips his cloak off like it's weighing him down. Dude, it's 833 kilometers from Eregion to Lindon. You said it yourself.
We take the Axa Bridge. Region is just under 150 leagues.
And the map last episode showed Eregion when you saw Adar's army, so presumably you were close to the city where Kell Bmore is, and you expect us to believe you ran your ass off all that distance? I can't let it go. I don't know why. Back in Khazad-dûm, King Durin has started charging a tax, a ring tribute, which is making it harder for Disa to buy a shiny stone for a birthday present. Disa's rock rolls into a crevasse, literally along the main market street, and a few feet later she finds a huge cavern, which apparently no one's bothered to explore before. She sings to find her rock, which is about 5 feet away from her, and a Balrog-like roar answers back. Really? This is how you're choosing to introduce one of the most iconic and fearful adversaries in all of Middle-earth? By a pure accident? Durin summons the Dwarven Lords' emissaries to Khazad-dûm to distribute the rings to them, for a price. It's a multicultural group, which again has been rendered meaningless by Amazon's casting choices. It might have been interesting to see these multiracial dwarves representing the different clans, like those said to be from the east, the Blacklocks and the Stonefoots, for example. It might have felt exotic and cool to get a hint of a broader world or varying Dwarven cultures. But as it is, these Dwarven emissaries might as well reside in Khazad-dûm for all I can tell. In trying to make everybody represented, nothing is represented, as far as lore and world building go. It's all unidentifiable. At any rate, Durin, who's fully given himself over to the ring, wants to delve deeper.
We should be delving much deeper.
The dwarves delved too greedily and too deep.
Durin the Younger warns his father not to dig because Disa says she heard something strange. Durin the Elder says Disa is wrong because he can see the stone with the ring, and we all know where this is headed. Meanwhile, in Numenor, perhaps the least compelling part of this show, which should actually be the most interesting, Pharazôn has fully taken over. Elendil wants to fight back with the Sea Guard, who's still loyal to the Queen, but Miriel doesn't want to, because she thinks the Palantir has shown a different vision, one not depicting Numenor's downfall. So maybe Pharazôn was meant to rule after all. Pharazôn's pansy son, who seems to be a cheap version of Joffrey without any of the qualities that made that character truly believable and repulsive all at the same time, is tasked with stripping any Sea Guard loyal to the Queen of their armor and weapons. This leads to a ruckus as Elendil's daughter joins in on the treacherous fun, with Elendil responding with this banger of a comeback.
You were walking a treacherous path.
And yours is made of seawater.
Boy, you told her. In an attempt to copy the political infighting from Game of Thrones, Amazon tries to show how heavy-handed Pharazôn is. His son shuts down the oldest shrine in the city to make way for the new aqueduct, insults the captain, and smashes the shrine's holiest relic, as if we didn't see that coming. A fight breaks out between Valandil and Discount Joffrey, which results in Valandil getting stabbed in the back by the weak, ratty son, who washes his blade in the shrine's water just to add insult to injury. It's all very contrived and obvious, and it's clear where the writers took their inspiration from. Back to Eregion, we see an invisible elf running around. Apparently she was in a misty place, the unseen world, which sounds just like the One Ring in the Jackson films. And she saw a fiery outline of evil, but she doesn't realize it's Sauron. Somehow, Sauron convinces the elf lady that the being wreathed in flames was actually Celebrimbor, because he's tired and vulnerable to the shadow because he's been working so hard. Then Sauron starts getting horny for Galadriel.
Who's like this?
Why, Lady Galadriel's, of course.
Run, bitch! Run!
Durin the Younger shows up to tell Celebrimbor about his father's behavior after wearing the ring and casts suspicion on the ringmaker, who's staring down at them from a tall tower. So Celebrimbor finally gets the wits up to question Sauron and asks him point blank.
Did you, in some way, alter the Dwarven rings, yes or no? No.
And that slippery old Sauron says we brought deceit into the process. That's why it went bad. He blames Celebrimbor's lie to the High King in a past letter of being responsible for corrupting the rings, Like, you cheated on an exam, but God knows what you did, or something like that. He says Celebrimbor should go to Lindon as if it's a weekend jaunt, and confess to the High King. But Celebrimbor, that paragon of virtue and endless well of strength, says no. He'll never be allowed to forge anything again, as his job security is more important than doing the right thing. So Sauron says, well, it's either that, or we just keep going and double down. And the Master Smith agrees. Watching Sauron manipulate Celebrimbor is about as convincing as Pennywise tricking Georgie into the sewer. Sure, it works, but only because it's being applied to someone with a limited intellect. No offense, Georgie, you're just a kid. Celebrimbor, on the other hand, as a thousands-year-old elf, has no excuse whatsoever. Sauron's lies are just as believable as when someone told you you'd get hairy palms for.
Bro, what the hell? It's a public place.
Well, you know, now that Celebrimbor is on board with the plan, he just blames the rest of the blacksmiths and says we all messed up. Let's finish all 9 of the men's rings together to redeem us all. Never mind that he was forbidden to make any more of the things. He channels his inner Elon Musk taking over Twitter and says if everyone doesn't work their ass off, they're fired. Then goes upstairs and hands the operation over to Sauron. What a man. Sorry, elf. Back in Khazad Dûm, Durin the Younger tries to convince his father something is wrong with the ring he's wearing. So the king ignores that completely and names Durin Prince, because of his partnership with the elves. Elrond has finally made it back to Lindon and tells Gil-galad he must send the army to Eregion as soon as possible. Gil-galad says no. He believes Sauron is the architect of all of this, and the army can't fight both Sauron and Adar alone. Geez, your confidence is a bit lacking there, buddy. And just when you thought our fair lady Galadriel was going to sit this episode out, we cut to the orcs, standing outside Eregion, ready to lay siege. Galadriel is so badass, she can take Adar hostage in the middle of his own army, and Adar's response is, I want you to be my ally to fight our common enemy Sauron. What a load of shit. You have a goddamn army, and you think Galadriel will help you? Like how? Attack Eregion and kill elves in the process? What is this soap opera logic? This is painful to watch. That's episode 5. I've heard some other commenters say that this is supposed to be the best episode in the season, and if that's the case, we are in some serious trouble. Overall, the episode dragged, though the absence of the Harfoots was mercifully welcome. I guess it wasn't the worst we've gotten this season, but it wasn't very good television, and certainly didn't do Middle-earth any favors. Thanks for sticking it out if you got this far, and thanks for all the comments. I really appreciate it. That's it for me. Until next time.